We'll go to that.
I never knew you had that tape.
Oh, wait a minute.
I would love to see that tape.
You didn't know I had that tape?
No, I'm really excited to see this. I had no clue you had this tape.
Oh, wait a minute. No, we won't go to the Ron Paul. I want to show you.
No, I know, but eventually
We're going to get
I'm
to it
excited
today,
that I'm
maybe.
going to see it.
There's a guy named Josh Ehrenberg. Now, the reason you should pay attention to Josh Ehrenberg, he was a Navy guy. He loved being in the Navy. He loved serving America. I think he said he was in 8 years. 8 years. And he had to get out because a family court judge said, get out of the military and make more money and pay child support to the wife. Even though you got primary custody, I'm taking it away from you. Watch this.
So what was
We'll be
that?
back. Yeah. We'll be back. We'll be back. I'm not sucking the federal tit.
You versus the child.
Right.
Right. The child, the court stuck him with the woman he doesn't even call mom. He knows mom. But they listed as me versus him.
Right. And live on nothing.
That's what we're doing.
And he snapped on something to live on. Now that never got into ABC, CBS News.
Wow.
Never got out there. We're here, this is William Wang for On Second Thought, and we are here with Mr.
Ehrenberg.
And your first name, Aaron?
Joshua.
Joshua Ehrenberg. Joshua, how old is your son?
I have an 11-year-old and I have a 12-year-old. The 12-year-old's about to be 13.
And how long has it been since you've seen your oldest son?
My oldest son, I recently have been able to see him last weekend, but that took forever. When I first got back from California, it was about 5 months before I was able to force it to a situation where I was able to see my son.
You went 5 months without seeing your son.
That's correct, that I raised for 10 years.
Do you have shared parenting or joint custody?
As of when I was out in California, ironically working on assignment at Children's Hospital in San Diego, her lawyer went in front of the judge, who was supposed to be presenting an agreement she and I had signed. Did not present that agreement since I wasn't there. Had him take all parental rights away from me, just based on nothing but her statements. Nothing.
What courthouse was that?
This was Clark County.
Georgia?
That's correct.
Clark County, Georgia. The judge took all your parental rights away.
All of them. I raised him for 10 years with no support from her primary custodian.
So you were the primary custodian. You were raising your son.
That's correct.
What was she doing?
During that time, she didn't contribute any to his support. I think actually in the entire 10 years, she bought him one pair of shorts. She was supposed to see him, 2 months during the summer is what we had agreed so that he'd still be able to know her. She usually lasted for about 4 weeks of that. And then she would send him back because she just didn't, at that point, couldn't really handle him. When I got out of the military, however, that changed. I got out of the military, part of the reason why I didn't stay in was because I needed to make more money. And I guess I should have seen that as a hallmark of things to come. At that point is when she decided not to return him. And it went to the courts, ex parte of course. Had them assign her custody and support, and never even at any point during the entire time told them that I've been raising him for 10 years. And in fact, I don't even believe jurisdiction-wise, since I had been raising him and she just kept him, they should have been able to rule on it, but they don't necessarily care, I guess.
Is the court system fair? Is family court fair to fathers?
No, absolutely not.
Are you saying that just because you lost a child, or do you see a more pervasive bias in the courts?
I see a much more pervasive bias in the court.
Aren't the courts supposed to be neutral?
They are supposed to be neutral.
And is that your experience? Are the courts neutral and fair?
No, absolutely not. There's a specific instance I'd like to cite that when she had kept him, I filed to have a warrant done for her arrest. It was a female judge. This judge, I got in front of her. My ex-wife had a lawyer there. The judge listened to the fact that I had him for 10 months of the year. She had him in the summer. She did return him. And the judge, I'm guessing, initially didn't understand it. Or didn't quite grasp it, but thought she had. And in open court said, well, Mr. Ehrenberg, you need to realize that since she has him during the year and you only had him 2 months in the summer, that since you didn't return him, you're going to go to jail. At which point I corrected the judge and said, no, Your Honor, I think you misunderstood. I have primary custody. It was 2 months in the summer. He was with her. And she hasn't returned him, and that's what we're here for. To which the judge said, oh, well, never mind, completely changed her point of view at that.
What's the judge's name?
I don't remember which judge. That was the magistrate judge.
In what county?
In Cobb County.
In Cobb County,
That's correct.
Georgia.
Right.
So once you made the judge understand that it was she who did not return the children. All of a sudden, there was no talk about anybody going to jail.
Right. At that point, she just really didn't want to hear it, and I'm not going to issue a warrant, and that was it.
It was a female judge.
It was a female judge. I don't necessarily think that that matters, though. In my experience with the judges, male judges seem just as apt to take that stance.
Is that a clear bias in the judiciary?
I believe it is.
Now, what did you do in the military? What branch of the military were you in?
I was in the Navy, the United States Navy.
How did you come to have this child? You married this woman?
That's correct. When I was 18, she had gotten pregnant, and she and I got married. We were married for a few months. He was born, and then after that, we separated. Approximately 5 months later, after the divorce, she signed over custody, as long as she told me, as long as I never tried to take her back to court to get any kind of child support or any other kind of money.
Did you ever have a DNA test done to be sure it's your child?
No, I've never had a DNA test, but I mean, he looks just like me and acts just like me, so I'm pretty positive that it is.
During the 10 years you had the child, you were in the military, correct?
That is correct.
In the Navy. What were you doing? What was your occupational specialty?
I was a corpsman, which is the equivalent to a medic in another service that you would probably be more familiar with the term. Specifically, I went to school for neurodiagnostics, which is testing of the nervous system, central nervous system, etc. I went back to the school at one point to be an instructor, and I taught at that school for a while. My last 4 years, I was advisor to the Surgeon General of the Navy on neurodiagnostics.
And so you can make considerably more money out of the military than you can in the military with this training, can't you?
That is correct.
And when you got out of the military, suddenly this woman brought into the world this child of yours named Matthew?
That's correct. His name's Jonathan Matthew, but he's actually named after my brother.
So Jonathan Matthew, who she didn't want to care for 10 years.
Correct.
You get out of the military, now she suddenly wants him.
Well, she states she wants him, yes. And also states she wants, of course, the $1,000 a month in child support that she apparently didn't feel was important when I had him.
When you weren't making very much money.
That's correct.
Has anything changed in her life? Has she become a better human being, a better mother? Does she have other children by some other man?
She did have another child after she and I got divorced. She gave that child up for adoption, which was probably a responsible thing for her to do. She doesn't have very maternal instincts. There's a reason why my son doesn't call her mom, and she's comfortable with that. There's very good reasons for that. Actually, something that might be kind of important that now that I think about it. One of the reasons why, when I got out of the military, she had informed me that because I wasn't making a lot of money and I had debt from a divorce from my second wife that I was married to for years and years, she sent me a letter that said that she was going to attempt to fight me for custody of Matthew if I didn't get out of the military where I could make more money to where I could pay those debts. She was concerned that having that kind of debt and not making a lot in the military, according to the letter, she had concern about that and felt that in court then she would be able to fight for custody. Looking back on it, it seems kind of clear then, okay, you get out of the military, well, I'm still going to take them. But of course now you've got more money, so it's more financially feasible or beneficial.
Does this hurt you emotionally, personally, to lose your son after 10 years?
Absolutely. He is a brilliant child. One of the things specifically that's happened recently, he was tested for gifted when he was with me. And he's got incredible potential. Some of the things he talks about, quantum physics and such, he's just incredibly intelligent. But he does have ADD, and he was on medication. And it took a lot of extra work, probably an hour to 2 hours a day, sitting down and keeping him on task with his homework. Since he's been there, she was on a Law and Order recently. They said, the wife had claimed mental and emotional cruelty by the husband, but it was a straight-out asset war. I mean,
Yeah, it was straight out asset war.
That's something they can joke about on TV.
Right. Oh, they do. They don't care. It doesn't hurt them.
But
okay,
he had a good idea. He said, go and get a psychological evaluation because basically once you've been accused, you're guilty in the court's eyes.
Okay, now did the mother of your 10-year-old son that you mostly raised for 10 years, did that mother accuse you of some kind of abuse of your son?
Yes, she accused me of emotional abuse.
And what was the result of the evaluation?
That I was absolutely fine.
And did the court then hold her in contempt for making false accusations?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Right.
And basically at that point, you're supposedly back at square one, but really you're not, because once the accusation's made, you're done. In fact, my lawyer told me, well, maybe in a year or two, you can go back and try to fight it, because then it'll at least been a while since you made that claim. Once the claim is made, you're through.
Exactly.